All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Desert Farmer Podcast. This is episode 72. So we have a lot of things to cover with you guys today. Of course, I have a wonderful PowerPoint presentation for you guys just to make sure everyone is on the same page. So for those of you that are on the listen only for this, don't worry. We'll be going over each one of these. No need to be here, although there is one picture you won't be able to see if you're here just on the actual podcast, the listen-only version. Okay, so before we get started today, we're going to give everybody some time to get here today. And before we do that, we have a couple of housekeeping notes for everyone. So housekeeping note number one is what?
If you have a question, if you could just write the word question in front of your question, that way it stands out and I don't miss it. We'll get that answered for you.
Yes, because Lori will be looking at the comments. We see all you guys down there. She'll be interacting with you guys here as well, but actually specifying a question will definitely help us, especially as we go back to answer questions after our topic of today. Yeah. That helps us out a lot. And then housekeeping note number two is give us a thumbs up. If you enjoy the content, particularly this podcast here that we give to you guys each week, definitely helps if you give us a thumbs up, and that helps in perpetuity, helps folks find this, helps YouTube know that you guys enjoy it and it's worthwhile and it's worth your time. Hopefully it is. We try to do the best we can. So I know we had one question that came up from somebody way before we got started. Was it the Desert Homestead or something like that? So we will come back to that question here in just a minute. But before we do, there's a couple of things we wanted to share with you guys, some highlights while we give everybody a few more minutes to get here. We've got 3 things today. One of them's kind of stinky. You want to share them though? What do we have?
Well, we have our nuggets on pasture. So our fall batch of broiler chickens were in the brooder, and we just got them out on pasture this morning. So at 2 weeks old. And then...
Yeah, and that is... So those will be... We have a chicken processing workshop at the very beginning of November. I think it's November 1st, right? So November 1st is our chicken processing workshop. You can sign up for that on our website. We do that every year, and that is one of my favorite things to do because we're actually teaching people hard skills, and these broilers are there for that, and of course for us and for customers. And it does lead right into Desert Homestead's question for today. But what else? We've got a couple other quick updates we want to give everyone.
So we had the Green Living magazine.
Oh,
had an article in there on the farm.
Yep. So I'm pretty sure it's a digital only magazine. Could be wrong, but we have Pam.
Yeah, I think she said that she was going to drop a couple of copies.
Oh, is it hard copy as well?
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. So, but we're in there, and they talk a little bit. She talks a little bit about the farm. She spent about 2 hours here with us.
At least.
Something like that. I know it was during the week, so you were walking around the farm, and then we sat down for a few minutes and answered some questions for her. And she's here out here in Whitman, and she had had gone to her boss with this, and they thought it was a great option. And she was it was a neat little article. So yeah. She did a good job with that. You'll see that over on our Facebook page, and we also posted it here on YouTube on the community tab, so you can see it either way, and there's a little click through for you there so you can go and read the article. It's not very long, so not very long, but
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is kind of neat, and that was really neat to be spotlighted that way.
Yeah. So,
and then last highlight, well, maybe it was a low light of this week, so...
Some adventure?
Adventuresome. Yeah, adventuresome. It was kind of stinks. Yeah, anyway, so what happened? You want to kind of set the tone for the story? Because,
sure.
Yeah.
So we were, sleeping. So it was 1 o'clock in the morning. We were sleeping, and all of a sudden our dogs go off and start barking, which is normal. We have 2 livestock guardian dogs, so they do bark throughout the night. If they happen to be up near the house and start barking, we only hear it for a second because then it starts fading because they are running after something, whether it's,
coyotes, other dogs,
rabbit, whatever. Well,
and it happens off and on pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
because
common.
our dogs hate rabbits, and so if a rabbit gets on the property, they will bark at it and chase it off the property. So the other night we were sleeping, and the dogs start barking, and woke up, and they kept barking, and we could tell that they're right outside our bedroom glass slider.
And if you guys have ever, we haven't done any vlogs this year, so that was by design. But if you guys ever watched our vlogs, and you would see in the beginning of those, we would let the cats out. We'd always show you guys that. And you're looking at that angle, you're looking at the catio, because there's a little nook on our back patio, and our bedroom slider, our bedroom is right there. It's one of the reasons we put that catio there in the beginning.
So we could hear them.
Right, so we could be there with the cats. And so it's literally, our bed is 5 feet away. So, yep. So the dogs are barking like crazy. I get up to go to the bathroom because what else does a man do in his 50s at 1 o'clock in the morning?
When you get woken up.
Yep, got to go to the bathroom. But so.
Well, they were barking too much and not going away from the house. So I'm like, oh, okay, something's going on. So I got up, looked out the back door, and out of our slider, and they were literally facing the cat enclosure, barking. And I'm like, oh no, something's wrong here. So I'm trying to like peek, to see in there, and I can see that there's something in the cat enclosure.
So I'm going to
and let me back up, because a while ago I was like, the cat's food bowl in there was empty like all the time, and I'd come out in the morning and I'm like, how did they go through all that food overnight? So I was like, I'm going to put a camera on it just for that. Anyways,
never did. Never did.
Yeah.
So I get this cryptic, I'm in the bathroom, and I get this cryptic, you're going to need to go out there. Something along those lines. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. So my mind is like, okay, does she see a person out there? What's going on? Something can't be right. And so what did you see inside the catio?
A skunk.
Yep. So she opens the slider, and before I got over to the slider, I could smell that skunk. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, you haven't been able to really smell anything for the last couple of years. She got COVID a couple of years ago, and all she had was a really bad cough. Literally, only thing she had, but she lost her smell and really hasn't had it back. It's a wonderful thing for me. I'm not going to lie.
It's starting to slightly come back to certain things, and I could smell that skunk. And I was like, oh no.
Clearly.
So I shut the door.
That skunk, actually, it may have cured you. It's possible.
We'll see. We'll see.
But it's going nuts. It's got its back to it. The dogs are going crazy. The cats are like all around, like, what is happening?
Spraying everywhere in the cat enclosure.
5
right
feet from our
bedroom door.
I know. It was horrible. And so, anyways, long story short, we could not get it to come out. And so it wasn't coming out. And so I had to go ahead and take care of that. And that is the skunk that in question. And it, little Pepe Le Pew there. Decided to spray the wall, the ground,
the cat food,
everything in there.
We moved the whole enclosure out. I sprayed the whole corner.
Our bedroom smelled for
vinegar.
Bedroom smelled for 2 days. I mean, like an intense
in our
skunk
bedroom.
Smell. It was horrible.
I'm lighting candles everywhere.
It was horrible.
Because there's nothing to clean inside of our bedroom.
No.
So we had a boiling vinegar.
Yeah, we had vinegar sitting out. It was a day.
So yeah, I cleaned the whole corner where the cat enclosure is, and you can still smell it.
You can still smell it, yeah. So
we're like online, like, okay, what else can we do to try to get the smell, and trying all these different things.
Vinegar and baking soda, or not vinegar, I forget what it was. Some combination there, and it's definitely faded. I can't smell it in the bedroom anymore, which is good.
That's good, yeah.
But yeah, and you got to be right up on it before you smell it. The cats and the dogs don't care. Literally, Sasha, while we were trying to clean it, she was trying to lay down on the ground right there. Willow was tucked up in the corner, just laying there.
They were all going because they're like, oh, this is a nice little cool corner, and they're all just going laying in there. I'm like, you guys, that stinks.
Yep.
They didn't care.
Nope, didn't care. So
thankfully, none of the animals got sprayed. So the
No.
cats weren't in there. While Willow was on top of the enclosure. She ran and jumped on top of the enclosure. The dogs, we have a fence that
dog fencing.
blocks the enclosure off so the dogs can't get in there to get their food. And so that was the only reason why the dogs weren't in there. And thankfully, because they would have gotten sprayed and we've been trying to bathe them, and that would have been a nightmare.
That would have been bad. That would have been bad. So yeah. So anyways, it was an eventful week, needless to say.
Yeah.
And a little stinky. And then forgot because we also got some additional rain, right?
Oh, yeah.
So had rain come through. So we've had rain basically off and on for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. So and then we've got more rain in the forecast coming up here this week. And I'm looking outside right now. I see storm clouds up north. So really nice. The weather has been beautiful. We're down in the mid 90s here in Whitman, and looking out through next week, we're down into possibly the 80s, down into the 60s in the morning. That is long sleeve weather for us.
Yeah.
We're winds here in Arizona. So, okay, I've got a long list of things for you guys today. So if you guys are here for the topic of the day, you're here just in time. Do we have any quick questions before we jump right into it?
Yeah, so the Desert Homestead question, I'm in Arizona, south of Phoenix. How do you sell chicken and turkey as meat with USDA regulations? I can't find any processors for birds, only cow. I'm not okay with inspectors on my property either.
That's fair. I don't think anything good comes out of that for anybody. So we had an inspector on our farm a few years back, and he was kind of going over things that we needed to bear in mind, that we needed to do, we needed to keep in mind, et cetera, et cetera. So we did talk briefly about our poultry. So the state of Arizona actually does not have specific guidelines for poultry. So we default to the federal guidelines for poultry. So as long as you are processing 1,000 birds or less, you have an exemption federally for inspection. And so that's what we fall under. We only do a couple hundred a year. And we purposely stay under that because, of course, you won't find a processor, by the way, in Arizona. There isn't one, to my knowledge.
Not that we know of.
And so we all get to do that ourselves. And one of the things he told us, he said, what it narrows down to for them is they're more concerned if we're going to a farmer's market and selling to strangers. We don't. So everybody that we sell chicken and turkeys to, those are people that we know. So we know we are on a first and last name basis with all of those folks. And so we know who they are. And he was fine with that in the quantities that we sell. So my guess is you're probably going to be about the same. So you should not have any issues. Just make sure you are using the poultry labels. You can get them on Amazon. So part of the exemption is having them labeled. So it has to have your farm name on there, and it has to have a label on there. So just make sure you're utilizing one of those. Again, easy to find on Amazon. I'm sure we have them in our Amazon shop, but any of them will work just fine. Any other quick questions, and we can jump right in?
Yeah. Well, Slamboy, he had shut down his ponds.
Oh.
So lots of fish to process. Catfish and tilapia for family and shelter.
Sounds like a fish fry.
Yeah.
I'm coming over.
Kidding.
That sounds fantastic.
Then we had a question. I live down the road from you. Where do you sell your fruit?
So we started selling fruit for the first time this year, and we will be doing U-Picks. And it was kind of as people reached out, so we didn't do any marketing around it because we were trying to figure out how we were going to control the amount of people that are here because we don't have a whole lot of trees for our production trees. So long story short, we will be selling all of our large production items, so peaches, apples, and mulberries, potentially figs, and probably jujubes in season, and those will all be U-Pick starting next year. And we will have signups for those seasonally. And so just make sure you're on our customer email list. You can do that through the website, or you can email us, whatever you want to do. And we'll get you on that email list, and you will be notified when we have those U-Pick signups. Good question. What else?
Just planted a loquat probably a bit early. Root ball was a bit smaller than expected. Recommendations to help it survive, a little fertilizer, or just leave alone with light daily water.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily... right now, daily water on a new planting probably wouldn't be a bad idea. You were a little bit early. I'm not sure exactly where you're at. So let me know if you're in the city, outside, down in Tucson, kind of where you're at.
I can't remember. It's Brain Hunter, but we know it's Brian.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I think you're in Arizona.
Yeah. So either way, so yeah, daily water while we're above 90 degrees on a brand new planting. Once you get into October, it shouldn't be more than once a week.
Oh, outside Tucson.
Okay, yeah. And so you're a little cooler like us. So you're probably going to be okay, honestly. It doesn't necessarily need it every day. I'd say as long as it's heavily mulched, maybe a couple times a week is fine. And just make sure you're irrigating away all the things that we kind of talk about here. Preaching to the choir there. So just all of those things still apply. And I don't think you're really all that early because honestly, we planted a tree 2 weeks ago, a mulberry. It's doing fine. Got a little droopy the first few days. Tomorrow, Lord willing, we'll be putting in a couple more mulberry trees. So it's time. It's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. So I think you're okay. All right, ready to jump into it?
Sure.
All right. So I know you guys love PowerPoints. So here we are. Okay, this is our fall farm checklist, and we are specifically talking about the months of September and October because that's our entire fall period. And summer slides right up into there too. So it can even be considered summer because it's still 100 degrees out there. So first thing we're going to talk about here is going to be the irrigation changes. Now, the timing on this is critical. So we're still in September, especially you guys in the city, you're still seeing 100-degree days. So as long as you're above 100 degrees, we follow the September schedule. We're still following it now because we're still tapping 100 here again this week. So we are still, all of our primary orchards, which would be our stone fruit, our pome fruit, our figs, our pomegranates, our citrus, all of those trees are all still being watered 2 times a week. And we put 60 gallons a day when we do those 2 waterings. And so they're getting about 120 gallons still here in the month of September. Once we roll into October, we'll drop that down to once a week because we're probably looking at 90-degree days, at least we should be. With the occasional 95, high 90s is okay. We want to be looking at 90 or so degrees. We drop down to once a week, and then we'll maintain that through the winter time period unless we get rain. The fall time period, unless we get rain. Once we get into winter, that changes a bit, but through the month of October, that's what we're looking at. For our large trees in the back, we're looking at 2 times a week still here in September. We'll drop down to once a week once we get, again, back down into that 90-degree temperature weather here over the next couple of weeks. And those are getting 90 gallons a day. So lots and lots of water on those.
A day.
I'm sorry, once a week. So, or each watering. Twice a week now, once a week in October. The pecan trees, they tend to put on a little bit of fall flush, like a lot of the trees here do. The mulberry trees definitely do. And so that will allow us to hopefully get a little bit more growth on those pecan trees. They struggled again this year. You guys will see that in a video we're posting tomorrow, so you can take a peek at them there. But they didn't struggle as much, right? Mm-hmm. So you were pretty diligent about that extra watering. Mm-hmm. They were getting a whole lot of water, guys, probably 250 to 300 gallons a week, ridiculous amounts of water. And they still crisp up on the leaves. So, anyways, that's the large trees. But the big mulberry trees, they do fantastic with that extra water. They're very forgiving when it comes to that. And so we've got them on the same schedule. So the vineyard, so we have our vineyard on drip irrigation. Right now, the vineyard is still at 3 times a week, and that will drop down to 2 times a week once we are consistently into the low to mid 90s, and that is 12 gallons each time we water. We've got a 2 gallon per hour emitter on either side of the vine, so that's how we water those. That way it's distributed for the vine. And those are watered for 3 hours at a time. So 12 gallons per night. By the way, I should probably mention all of our irrigation, with the exception of some of our hand-watered items, are all watered overnight. And so we start watering at about 7 o'clock at night and water throughout the night. Most of those finish by about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So that just helps to eliminate evaporation. So then we have our pastures. Those, again, are watered. I'm not going to say manual. They're not manual. We do have them on automated timers, but they are done above ground. So we do those early in the morning, again, to minimize evaporation. Those are still being watered daily for 25 or so minutes. That will continue through the month of October. We don't back off on that with the pastures. They cannot go more than a day without water at this point. And then our garden beds, all of our garden beds are daily for 30 minutes. Now we're going to be talking today about some planting. We have not done any of our fall planting in those beds yet. It's coming up. So we missed a little bit of a window there on a few things, but that's kind of typical for us. But we are watering that daily for 30 minutes. Once we plant anything into those beds then get watered twice a day. So they'll get watered in the morning, first thing in the morning, and they'll be watered in the evening right at about sundown, again, to minimize evaporation there wherever we can. And then the last thing on our list here for irrigation changes is potted plants. During the summertime, potted plants have to be watered every day. You want to finish that for me real quick? Take a drink.
Yeah, water daily. And so we will switch that to like 3 to 4 times a week, every other day or every 3 days.
Yeah, and I think for the biggest thing for us that's different here that you guys won't have unless you're using plastic pots is our nursery starts. Those get watered every day.
Yes.
Right. So that continues every day. And that will continue in through probably the farm tour, which hopefully will clear out of a lot more of those trees. But yeah, those are daily. So, but potted trees and potted plants, those are typically like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for us is usually about what we do. And that tends to be just fine. So irrigation change is critical this time of year. Again, above 100 degrees, we're maintaining our summer schedule for the most part. And then once we get down into the 90s, we come back on that. Okay, planting. Next on the to-do list, we've got some planting to do. So annuals in September and October. Your direct seeded ones that we missed our window on for August are August and September. But a lot of your annuals are going to be going into your beds, especially if you're going to be doing transplants. So in the month of September, we're typically focused on squash, tomatoes, and beans. So if you're going to be getting some beans in, now's really your last chance to get those in the ground and have a chance at a harvest before they die from the frost. So those are typically, for us at least, in the month of September. And then in the month of October, we move into garlic. We've got a new variety that we're going to be planting this year. Our Itoy onions will be planted next month. Brassicas and lettuce are towards the end of October, but usually sometime in the month of October. And then by the time you get into the end of October, pretty much all of your winter crops should be in, especially if you're going to be going to plant starts. And then, of course, trees. We had an entire podcast on this a couple weeks back on when you plant trees. We talked about this being a critical time for tree planting, especially for potted trees. Basically all trees except for some citrus, and those are your less cold hardy citrus. So things like pomelos are not quite as cold hardy. Also, limes can be challenging, and you can really wait for citrus until the spring. All of citrus until spring, but everything else should be planted except for, again, citrus, and definitely no tropicals. If you guys are wanting to put a tropical tree in the ground, now is not the time. And I get a little frustrated sometimes with folks that are selling tropical trees this time of year, and I get it. I'm a capitalist myself, and so we're a farm that sells stuff and makes money. So I appreciate it, but now's not the time to be putting a tropical tree in the ground. You are asking for trouble. So it is really going to struggle. Our winters kill tropical trees. And so putting one in the ground now is really not a good idea. If you're going to buy one, hang on to it. The one exception, because typically your tropical nurseries will sell loquats, is loquats. Loquat is not actually a tropical tree. Loquats actually thrive in our winter weather. It's almost ideal for loquats for us here in Arizona, the central part of Arizona. And October is the month to plant loquats. It's basically the only time anybody in a warm environment like ours, in our experience, it's the only time you should be planting loquats. Now, can you get away with the spring? Maybe, but you'll probably need to do some extra protection. The advantage to planting now is loquats will do well all winter long, As long as you mulch nice and heavy like we talk about here, you're going to get that wonderful root growth that's going to expand out while it's growing, going through its growing season. You get into the spring months, you've got a nice established root mass down underneath the ground. You've got some green that's grown here in the spring, fall through spring, and you get into that first summer, and you're having a much better chance when it really, really struggles in the summertime that tree is going to get through without any problems. Now, we planted a Yehuda last October. I think it was loquat number 6 or 7 for us. I can't remember exactly how many we've planted. And we've had 100% success planting them in October. Still 100%. So the Yehuda, all of them struggle a little bit in the summertime, but it's got all new growth coming along the trunk. We had kind of a tall trunk on ours. A lot of new bushy growth at the bottom. That's all popping out right now. So it muscled through the summer just fine, and that fall or that October planting was key. So that is your planting for the fall months, and so it is definitely planting season, guys. No question about it. So those of you guys who have livestock, this is more specific to what we do here, but it would apply to anybody down here in the central part of Arizona. But laying hens, this is prime time for your laying hens. Whether you brought them in the fall or brought them in the spring, the only exception will be molting, which we'll talk about here in a second. But if you're going to be bringing laying chicks in, you want to do that right now. Now is the time to get them here. Whether you're going to go down to Tractor Supply, I think their chick days start now or soon, or one of the other local places like the Stock Shop in Glendale. Is it Glendale? Glendale. So I know they normally do that. Or you're going to bring them in on through the mail like we do. Now is the time to get those in. You want to get them in now, get them into your brooder now. And then your heavy laying season is right now, especially into the fall season. While we still have plenty of daylight, those hens that are laying age are going to definitely go into their peak laying season. And some of them, depending on when you get them, are going to start to molt. Typically, they'll wait for that end of that laying season. At least we've seen that. And then they go into their molt. Hopefully. Hopefully, we'll see. So they go into a molt if you got them in the fall. Sometimes they'll do it no matter what, and then you sometimes see another molt in the spring/summer. We had our spring birds from the year before go just finishing up their molting now, right? So one of the reasons we usually try to offset our hens when we bring them in so that they're not all molting at the same time. But now is definitely peak season for your laying hens. Broilers, so if you're going to be doing broiler chickens, now is your last chance before winter. We highly suggest not doing broiler chickens during the winter time. It's very, very stressful on those birds. They have a hard time with our winters. It's just too cold, but they should be in the brooder now. So if you're going to be bringing in broilers, you need to do it lickety-split if you can find them. You need to get them right now, get them into the brooder right now so you can be processing in November-ish, okay? And our birds we shared with you earlier are actually now on pasture. I completely lost my... Do you see my cursor?
Yeah, it was just on the screen.
Where's he at? Uh-oh. There he is. There he is. Okay. A little technical difficulty. So either way, so broilers, I know we had the question earlier about the broiler chickens. We do a processing workshop every fall to teach folks how to do this. One of the reasons being we don't have processors here in Arizona to do those for us. We have to do them all ourselves. And so we train everybody how to do that and encourage them to get them on pasture. So we keep our broilers on pasture here, and it makes a big difference for the health of the animal and most importantly, how that meat tastes. It definitely does make a difference. And then turkeys. So if you are doing your Thanksgiving turkeys, you are too late if you're wanting to bring them in. They should have been here a couple of months ago, but we have our turkeys wind up on our pasture. We have a specific type of pasture for our turkeys here, so those will be on pasture next month. We actually do have they're kind of sort of starting on pasture right now, right?
Well, they like to fly over the fencing. We just haven't let them in quite yet full time because they will just devour the whole thing and trample the whole thing down. So, but they can reach their heads through the cattle panel, and so they've been eating around the edges. Mm-hmm.
And we've also we had some some netting. We pulled that back so they can truly get through there. So it's amazing to watch them. We'll try to get a video up on TikTok, but they really do gobble up the greens.
Oh, yeah.
Much more so than chickens do. And so, but yeah, we do put them on pasture, so they will be on pasture full time. here starting in a couple of weeks. And then just one last note, poultry really thrive during this time of year and really for the next several months. Now is poultry season for us in Arizona. Not that they do fine in the summertime too, but it's just a little more complicated because we give them standing water. Some people use misters and things like that. We don't do that here, but either way, you're helping them to get through those summer months. Now is when they thrive. One of the things that we get questions about here all the time is, do I need to add ice to my water? Do I have to give them frozen watermelon? Do we have to do all these things? And the answer is no. Poultry are naturally a jungle fowl, so they're used to very hot and humid. The challenge that we have is we're not humid, and then we're really, really hot, not like a jungle. We're way above that. And so, but once we get into the fall season, even through the winter and spring, it is like ideal. The only thing that slows them down is we don't have as much daylight during the wintertime, and we don't put lights on our chickens. So we let them naturally slow down in the wintertime. We just feel it's better for them, and in the end, the quality of the output. But it's just a wonderful time of year for them, just really ideal, and they really thrive. So I believe this might be my last one, but livestock, the bigger livestock, goats and pigs, obviously we do here. This is more specific to us, but we do our breeding season for our spring kids is in the month of October. So sometimes you can do it in September, October, but they do start going into heat pretty regularly starting now, and we will be breeding them here shortly. So if you're milking from spring kidding, it's going to definitely start to slow down. We saw that, and we decided we're going to go ahead and dry off our goats. And so you don't have to do that really until after breeding, but we wanted to give them a break. And Rosie was struggling just a little bit. So I don't know exactly what's going on with her, but she was losing too much weight, and so we stopped milking her, and we are kind of having to kind of beef it up a little bit with the beef pulp or not beef?
Yeah, shredded beef.
We're not feeding our goats beef.
No, beef pulp.
Beef pulp to try to get some weight back on her. So we're not going to breed her right now. So we may breed her in the spring depending on how she's doing. But either way, now is definitely breeding season. And then pigs, perfect weather for pigs. They love it when it's in the 80s and below. And so this time of year is really wonderful for them. We bring our piglets in the middle of summer when they can handle the heat. And then as they get bigger and struggle with the heat, it gets cooler and cooler. And so that's why we do that.
Yeah.
And then they're definitely starting to get big, well over 100 pounds. So we got a few in there probably pushing 150 pounds. And then no wallows after you hit 90 degrees. And back to just thriving. So large livestock definitely thrives in this weather. Again, just a wonderful time of year, kind of for everything. Mm-hmm. That includes the human beings. So... Yeah. The humans want that too.
You guys, it is already the middle of September. We're almost to October.
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast this year has gone.
I know. We're talking about fall. Our fall is like 2 weeks in October. So at least fall's coming.
I'm really excited about that, grateful for it, but I just can't believe how fast this year's gone by.
Well, they say, especially as you get older, the days are slow and the days are long and the years are fast. I think that's the right word. Something like that. Anyways, as you get older, the years fly by.
Oh my goodness.
Days are long, years are short. So,
yeah.
And then last but not least, very specific to us, is we have our fall farm tour coming up. So this is our busiest time of year by far, but our fall farm tour, for those of you guys here in Arizona that want to come and join us, is October of every year. You'll have to join our email list to be notified of registration. We do have registration, but it is completely free. But we do the registration because we can't just open it up. We don't have enough parking for everybody to just come on out willy-nilly. So, yeah. But fall farm tour is coming. I get really excited about that. I don't know if Kevin's here. Have you seen Kevin in there anywhere?
I haven't seen Kevin yet, no.
Have you seen Misco in there?
No.
Okay, so.
But I haven't scrolled down in a while. I was trying to save my spot.
Okay, so, but either way, so fall, wonderful time of year for so many reasons. It is by far our busiest time of year, and you can kind of see from that list. Those are all things that we're doing here over the next several weeks. And then, obviously we just throw our normal farm stuff, and, we've got all of our events and stuff going on here. So it's a busy but wonderful time of the year. And I personally love sharing the farm in fall. Spring is wonderful too for different reasons, but fall is my personal favorite time. It always has been. And it is just, it's the weather's cooling off. You guys know all the reasons why fall is wonderful. It's compounded for us here with the farm because we have our citrus starts ripening, assuming the birds don't destroy all of it again this year. But citrus starts ripening. We've got all of our livestock that's either in the middle or wrapping up. And then eventually we all get that downtime. And more specifically, we get downtime once we get through into Thanksgiving. So I see Pam is green there. Yes. Pam, thank you for the super chat. You are so sweet. Every week she's so consistent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So I think I'm done with my PowerPoint. So do we have any questions while I take a drink?
Just curious, what's the latest month you guys have harvested pomegranates? I did respond to that, but we can bring it up. I had said that we haven't gotten very many lately because they get eaten by rodents, but usually November, December.
Yeah, it's usually December. There is typically a second set. So they will flower, at least in our experience here. We will typically get flowering about now, and they will set another round of fruit. And that usually does ripen because we get through the summer months, and the birds that really like to destroy fruit sometimes don't bother those. And they also tend to be darker arils. So the little seeds inside tend to be a little bit darker on that late fruit set. But to answer your question, December. So we always finish that by the month of December, right in around that. And easiest way to remember that, of course, looks like a Christmas ornament. And that's how I remember that we've done them in December. And I think the only real harvesting video that we've ever done, I believe, was December, if I'm not mistaken. Could have been November, but pretty sure it's December. But that's the latest. We generally try to knock everything back in the month of December, with the exception of citrus, which is in full swing at that point. So,
I have what is supposed to be a blood orange that's been in the ground for 4 years. It's about 5 foot tall. It has never flowered. Should I leave it or get rid of it?
Well, if it was me, I would probably I'd probably rip it out, honestly. If I didn't get any flowers even. In how many years? 4 years?
4 years in the ground.
That's a long time. As you said, it's 5 feet tall. Is it a dwarf? Do you know if it's dwarfing rootstock? So what's one of the challenges with dwarfs, if it is a dwarfing rootstock, is they are kind of delayed with everything because they grow so much more slowly. And citrus generally grows pretty slow anyway. But I would be hard pressed to keep it at this point, especially because, another year has passed. It's not going to flower again. So, flowering season for a blood orange is spring. So typically March or April. And so sometimes February, but usually it's March or April. So, they should have green fruit on it right now. That's going to be ripening here probably, February timeframe, February, March. So yeah, if it was me, I would yank it unless you want to give it another year, see what happens in the spring. The challenge with that, of course, is your planting season is now through spring, and those you can definitely wait till spring to plant. So you could even if you wanted to do the quick swap, see if you get any flowering in early March, and if you don't, yank it and swap it. Put another tree in. That might be another option if you want to wait till then. Because it's not an ideal time to plant citrus right now anyway. You can do it with most varieties, but it's not ideal. It really is spring, so you can do that.
How about rodents and issues with them biting through your drip lines or them making homes in your garden beds?
Right. So our garden beds are fully enclosed. So we have hardware cloth underneath. You guys know we use concrete blocks. We prefer those. And we have bird netting on the top. So it generally keeps them out of our garden beds. And because that is a problem. As far as irrigation, we have that too. We just don't do a whole lot of drip irrigation. But it's just a matter of checking your drip irrigation. And I don't know of a good way to stop that without killing said rodents. So you're probably talking about ground squirrels. That's typically what we've had issues with. And it's usually pretty clear. Or rabbits. Either one will do it when they're trying to find water. So we generally don't get it happening here very often, even in the areas we have it. And I'm wondering if it's because we have a lot of water out for them, because they're not trying to find water. So on our hottest, driest days, we have water everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
we have water tanks, that are not in with like animals and stuff. We do have water that animals can get to, but you could even try to keep it under like wood chips or something.
Yeah,
instead of having it actual visible. Maybe
it does help
bury it a little bit.
It does help to bury it for your rabbits.
And our garden beds, we use the drip tape, so it's not like the dripper heads. So we have all of that underneath the wood chips.
Besides that, get a cat. So yeah, our cats have done a great job of
Our cats have been great.
significantly. Our ground squirrel population at the front of the farm is almost non-existent. I am shocked how well they're doing at that.
Yeah.
And it's taken a couple of years, but they take out the babies. So the older ones are a little wily and they're a lot faster, but the little ones can't get away from those cats. And the cats will eat them. So they catch them and eat them.
Or if the cats catch them and Sasha sees them, Sasha goes and
Sasha will steal it
from the cat.
Yeah, Sasha doesn't like them either. So, but either way, that has been wonderful for us.
Yeah.
It really has. And rabbits too. So they will find the rabbit nest. They will eat all the baby rabbits. And so, again, they will eat them. It's amazing to watch it, but they will eat them. And year over year, you just have fewer and fewer and fewer. Anyways, just some thoughts. What else?
Lori, did you look into those Ponca blackberries? No.
What is it? A punko?
It's Kelly. So the Ponca blackberries. No, we don't have another spot that we want to put blackberries right now, and so
I'm not familiar with this one, so
Yeah.
it might be worth trying. But we had, I think, 6 different blackberry varieties that were all desert adapted, not Oaxaca. That's not the right word. There's one that sounds like that though. But we had 5 different. I'm sorry. One of those was actually
boysenberry.
So we had 5 different blackberry varieties, and the only 2 that gave us fruit were the Primark and the Triple Crown. The other ones will fruit, but the fruit won't ripen. So that's the challenge. And then the Triple Crown, it took a few years before we really got a harvest, and we finally did get a really decent harvest off of it, but it took a few years. The only one that's consistent that we've found is the Primark. Because it's done so well, we're just hesitant to try to do anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we don't have a spot that we're like, I want to go put a blackberry in, so we haven't.
But if you do it and you have success, let us know.
Yeah. Have you ever made wine out of your pomegranates?
Yes. And I think we have a video up on it, honestly.
Yeah, that was one of the first wines that we made actually on our old property. So we haven't made one since we've been here, since we have not gotten a harvest from pomegranates here.
But we haven't tried, to be fair. So, and the pomegranates are back at the back of the Western Orchard, where we still have ground squirrels because the cats really don't go back there, and the ground squirrels just destroy it. So between that and the birds, and we can't keep the ground squirrels off of them. We haven't found an effective way of doing that. And because the ground squirrels basically just tear right through your organza bags like they're not even there. So.
Just bought 2 blackberry potted plants. I have to leave in pots until we buy our new house. Will they be okay? Hoping we find a house in the next 1 to 2 months.
Okay. Oh, and your time frame's pretty short. So blackberries will grow this time of year, but not aggressively. So spring is really their kind of aggressive growing time, so you should be just fine. You didn't tell me what size pot they're in, though. So you want to have them in at least a 5-gallon pot. One of the things about blackberries is they send runners, so they grow from the rhizomes that are underground, and you want to make sure you give them as much space down there to do that here over the next few months. That way, come spring, they're going to shoot right on out for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe she need to keep them in some
mottled sun. Yeah. So, and again, let us know what size. You don't need to let us know. So just make sure they're in at least a 5-gallon pot here, okay, for over the next few months. So if they came in a sleeve, that's not big enough. So get them in a 5-gallon pot. Use just a standard potting soil is fine. The one that we use all the time is the blue and yellow bag of Kellogg's Patio Plus or something like that. It's fine. It's organic. It works great. We use it for our nursery plants. So, but either way, that is the soil that we would suggest, and then the largest pot you can comfortably handle. The bigger the pot, the better at this point. with that soil, and at least for the next month or so, keep them in mottled shade or mottled sun. You'll need to do that until we get down below 90 degrees. So once we're down in the 80s and below, you're fine. It can be out in the sun, not an issue. But either way, it's not going to get hurt being underneath a tree or something if you have the ability to do that. So if not, build some shade for it. Find shade for it. Yeah. Good point. Thank you.
All right, and then Pam was just commenting about the orange. The person asked about with asking if it's a multi-trunk, because she said that hers didn't flower until she went down to a single trunk. Per your suggestion when you were here last time.
Yeah, that is part of it, and a lot of times in multiple trunks you could be dealing with rootstock, so with a sucker. And I don't remember if that was the case with Pam. I don't recall exactly. I do kind of remember that though. Is that one citrus tree that was up against your house in the front, if I remember that right? So either way, but great point. Thanks, Pam.
Did you harvest jujubes?
We did, and they're done. So I would say the birds got a lot more than we did.
They are, they're all over the ground.
There's hundreds of them on the ground.
We tried.
Yeah, but I think we are leaning real heavy towards putting a couple more varieties in. In fact, we'll probably be buying them here over the next couple of weeks. We'll see. But the harvest this year was amazing.
Really
and we
good.
are 4 to 5 years in on those trees. Even the honey jar that we just put in this fall, put on several, and it tasted fantastic. So I can't wait to do a taste test with you guys on that one. But they were going gangbusters this year. I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to get some folks out for a U-pick on those jujubes, because they're so unique and they're really hard to find. They're impossible to find fresh or dried off the tree, but you really can't find them in the stores to my knowledge. And there's a lot of folks out there that want them. There's a lot of cultures that really cherish that fruit, and I think it would be fantastic to have that there for them. So,
for Kelly, the blackberry, it's a new line of Freedom series.
Oh, okay, very good.
Blackberries, they taste like roses.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like roses smell. I'm not sure.
Tastes like roses smell.
Blood orange is supposed to be dwarf and has a single trunk.
Okay, yeah, and especially if it's a dwarf. We don't do dwarf tree. The only dwarf trees we have on this farm are kumquats, because it's the only way you find them. And they struggle. It takes a long time for them to establish and finally fruit. Once they do, they're very consistent and they're great trees. But there can be, we've lost a few. And so, and we don't lose citrus trees very often. But the challenge really is probably going to be the dwarf. It may still be okay. It may give you fruit. It's just going to be delayed. So because it takes a couple years before citrus trees produce on full-size rootstock. You get a dwarf rootstock, it slows it all down. So it just slows down an already slow process. So you're probably okay. If it was me, I'd yank it though. I wouldn't want a blood orange on a dwarf rootstock. You can take citruses on semi-dwarf rootstocks anyway. You can very easily, because they grow so slowly, you can very easily shape a semi-dwarf citrus tree to whatever size you need it to be. So you don't have to do a dwarf. The only time that dwarf really is going to serve you well is if it's going to be in a pot, in our experience. So otherwise, try to find one on a semi-dwarf rootstock that's what I would do. So, yeah.
So do you know anything about C35 rootstock for citrus?
Yes, it's not a good rootstock for us here in Arizona. So it's California rootstock. So that is designed for California. It's like a citron something or other. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that is absolutely a California rootstock and not a good rootstock for us here in Arizona. So we have lost citrus trees. I mentioned earlier we don't lose very many citrus trees. That's assuming they're on a good rootstock. We've lost citrus trees on C35. So I would definitely not suggest that one here.
Do fire ants attack worms, or do you have issues with them? Was digging in my soil a massive ant colony, and my worms aren't visible around my tree mulch anymore like earlier this year.
So I don't know where you're at. You said fire ants.
This is...
Are you in Texas?
This is Brian down in Tucson.
You have fire ants? So I didn't know we had fire ants here. That could be. Maybe you do. I just haven't seen them here. So we got some ants that sting and they suck, but they're not fire ants. I don't know the answer to that question. So we have ants all over the place, and we have worms.
Everywhere.
We have worms all over the place too. I guess I haven't really paid attention to whether or not the worms are in the same places as the ants, because I'm not usually digging when we find ants. We're avoiding it.
Yeah, we have a lot
So-
of ants in our garden beds right now.
Ton of ants in the garden beds. Yep. So, and I haven't dug in there to try to see if the worm population is still there. Don't know.
I don't know.
Don't know the answer to that question. But we do hate our ants here, even though they do have benefits. And I guess, I don't know, this is kind of a sidetrack, but if anybody knows
Could be
the
just
advantage.
a small red ant.
Yeah, probably the red ants. But does anybody out there actually know the what mosquitoes do? Like, what's the benefit of mosquitoes? I've been asked. That's going to be when I die. My first question. It won't be my first question to the Lord, but one of the questions I'm going to ask him is, why mosquitoes? Sorry about that squirrel moment.
Root stocks we should be looking for.
So there's a sour orange rootstock. I can't remember exactly what Reed uses, but there was a couple different rootstocks that he uses. I don't know exactly what it is. I know it's a sour orange, but I can tell you who grows them. And so the Sunset Nursery out of Yuma uses Arizona rootstocks, and I'm pretty sure it's that sour orange rootstock. And then obviously Reed does. So I'm looking for those. And so if you're going to, and what we found is you'll see Arizona grown on the tag, and that's coming from Sunset Nursery in Yuma. If you're getting your citrus from them, you're going to be just fine in our experience. All of our citrus trees here are either from Reed or it had that tag on there from Sunset Nursery. So, and you can find them, they're kind of ubiquitous, honestly, as long as you're not going to Home Depot or Lowe's, stay away from them. So and don't go to Moon Valley Nursery either. I don't know what's going on with that place, but I've seen some crazy things there too. But if you go to Summer Winds has those, Richard's Garden. Last week we talked about local nurseries. Go to one of those and get your citrus from there and look for that tag that says Arizona grown. It's real obvious, and it comes from Sunset Nursery in Yuma, okay? Because I don't remember exactly what the rootstock's called. I just know C35 has been a problem for us. That's why somebody else asked that, but yeah. What else?
Do you recommend any other type of pear trees? After about 5 years, we decided to pull Waddell pear trees struggle with fire blight and very small fruits, not edible.
You'll have to watch the video that we put out tomorrow.
Well, it's asking what other ones you recommend.
None. The answer is none.
I mean,
So
our Asian pears have done a little better.
Right. They'll still get blight on them, though. So if you have blight already, we do as well. And so if you have blight, those will get blight. And
The
so
Seckle pears.
that's what I was going to mention. Okay. So the Seckle pear is the only one that we've seen that, number one, will produce. And number two, it's fire blight resistant. So it's right next to 3. It's actually basically surrounded by pear trees that have fire blight, and there's no blight on those trees. So, and they do produce. We haven't been able to get a ripe fruit. No, I take that back. Didn't we get a ripe fruit off of one of those trees last year?
We got ripe fruit off of, yeah.
I think we did. So yeah, Seckle pear.
I would try the Seckle pear. We got it from Reed at RSI Growers. I don't know if he has any of those right now, but that's the only one that we haven't had a problem with the fire blight with.
Well, you know why he had Seckle pears? He grew those for us from the old farm. So I'm not sure that he does those. But I don't know that rootstock's quite as critical anyway with that. I think if you can find a Seckle pear, that's what I would do. We had a Seckle pear on the old farm. As far as I know, it's still alive and thriving, and it was not on Reed's rootstock. So I think you're going to be fine with that. I would give that a shot. I had mentioned earlier we're going to probably be adding a couple more jujubes. Well, we don't have space for them today, but it's because we're going to be pulling on a couple pear trees. So we're going to be pulling a Waddell and the Comus pear that we tried loaded with blight. So they're out of here. So we got jujubes we can put in there that will literally give us more fruit in the first year, because they do it no matter what you do, trying to keep it off of there. And they will be big, beautiful trees that those will never be. So yeah. What else?
So we have some mosquito information. So mosquitoes serve as a food source for various animals, including bats, birds, frogs, fish, and spiders. And then mosquito larvae help decompose organic material in water and are a food source for fish and aquatic animals. And then mosquitoes can pollinate certain plants, particularly orchids. Mosquitoes can help control populations of other insects,
we weren't going
such as midges and gnats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, hey, I didn't know that. So now I don't need to. I can stick with a more comfortable list for God.
And not curse mosquitoes so much.
And not curse mosquito. Cursing as soon as I get to heaven is probably a bad idea.
You can still curse mosquitoes.
I don't know. That's a good idea. I walk right up there and start cursing. That's probably not acceptable.
Oh, that's funny. I can't find a good source of wood chips. No chip drop by me. Any suggestions? Where are you at?
Yeah.
I don't know if I know that.
Yeah, let me know where you're at. So we were very fortunate, blessed is how I prefer to think of it. When we first moved here, we found two different companies, one through Chip Drop and one was a neighbor. And both of them delivered very, very consistently for the better part of a year or two. It's the reason why we have the pile. We have gotten 0 cents. Now, we haven't tried, but our neighbors have and are not getting them either. So I think for us, as we continue to get more houses out here, we'll have arborists out here doing tree trimming now. We got 150 homes going in literally across the street. And those are going to be expensive homes. Folks are probably not doing their own tree trimming. So my guess is we'll get them from them eventually. But, we're in kind of the same boat. One of the things about Chip Drop, number one, you got to make sure you're willing to take anything. Stumps, chips, doesn't matter. You need to choose. You got to take the option to take it. Don't be picky. Take everything. And number two, you got to pay for it. You have to pay for it. You're not going to get a delivery if they're free. It's just not going to happen. So it needs to be worth their while to come out to you. And so those are the things that helped us. And then we just got to know who they were. And so we said, hey, if you don't have a chip drop, we're 15 minutes from a dump. That helps. And, we just you become friendly with the guy who drives the truck. And guess what? The guy wants to come out. And I'm not going to say that maybe a bottle of whiskey might have wound up in the cab of his truck.
We were very good to our drivers that came out for a while.
Our drivers were happy to come see us. Yeah. So we had one that loved the pigs.
Yeah. And they just knew that, anytime they had a load, I guess, that wasn't going somewhere, that they could just come out here and dump it. But they're between Stanfield and Maricopa. I'm not sure where Stanfield is.
I don't know where Stanfield is.
Maricopa, so down East Valley.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay for them to get them down there.
Yeah, but what we used to call it, what did we call it? Chip chasing? Mm-hmm. We called it chip chasing.
Yeah,
so,
like you got ambulance chasing lawyers. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we would do is anytime we saw like a landscaping truck with a chipper on it, like with their truck, we would actually stop and ask them, be like, hey, any way that we could,
That was back in the days before Chip Drop was big too, though.
Yeah.
So imagine most of those guys are like, yeah, of course, we're getting paid for this. But just remember,
you could pay them,
Yeah.
Just offer to pay them. And...
Beer works, definitely works. Yeah. Assuming it's a bunch of guys, beer works. Or girls, I'm sure they like beer too. Maybe some whiskey, a little bit of wine.
A suggestion, ask counties. Sometimes they have to trim trees away from power lines.
Yep. Yeah, APS has, at least they used to have it. I went on that list and they were supposed to come by December a couple years ago. They've never shown up. So I don't know how consistent that is, but either way, yeah, it's that. And then check arborists I found some online places, and we actually, on the old farm, we had deliveries there because that was before Chip Drop. And we had a couple deliveries there. One of them was a 40-yard dumpster, maybe 2 40-yard dumpsters. And I found that through an online arborist. Yeah.
Calling places from online, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Look at that. And we're right on time. Great job, guys. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today. A lot of stuff here. Fall. Fall is a wonderful time for all of us. Tree people, gardeners, farmers, homesteaders. Fall is prime time for us. So many things to do here in the fall. We all struggled to get through the summer, hating existence, and now we get to just unleash our energy and our fury on planting and all these other things that are wonderful in the fall months. So it's time to get out there, get to planting, get that fall checklist created, get it done here over the next 2 months. We're going to be doing the same thing with you. We'll be right alongside you. But I just want to thank you guys for being here today. Time is the most valuable thing we have here on the planet. You guys just spent some portion of the last hour with us. We just want to thank you for that. This podcast is our way of giving back to you guys, saying thank you. We want to make sure it's tailored towards you. All of our topics are generally because of questions that we get in. You can ask us questions anyway. Here on YouTube is probably the easiest. Facebook and Instagram. We're on TikTok now. You can go to our website. You can pretty much find us everywhere. And very easy to submit questions. Maybe your question will be our topic of the week. We would love to have that come from you. But we do this podcast at 2 o'clock Arizona time every Saturday. Remember, we got fall equinox and we got you guys changing time. If you're not here in Arizona, we don't change time. So remember, 2 o'clock Arizona time. We will see you next week. But until then, just want to remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Everyone. So no creme